Welcome to Vintage Kitchen Vixen. I'm your hostess, Sylvia Rose, and we will begin with the most basic of steps, scrubbing the potatoes clean. For we wouldn't dream of throwing out good potato skins, would we? No, we must wash them well. When selecting your potatoes, do not shy away from the soft, spongy spuds or those exhibiting growth. Although unsightly, these potatoes are perfectly edible. It's when they're rotten and foul-smelling that a potato is well and truly spoiled. If you wish to prepare the potatoes in advance, I do recommend storing them in a bowl of cool water until ready to use. Potatoes have a tendency to oxidize when left in open air. Whenever you have plans to peel potatoes, do preheat the oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. To make a healthy and delicious appetizer or snack, toss the skins in a bit of olive oil and season it with salt, pepper, herbs, or any spices of your choosing. Lay the skins out on a parchment-lined baking sheet and roast them for 20 minutes. Be sure to stir them around halfway through. They are quite tasty as is, but also do well spritzed with vinegar or served with a homemade ketchup or aioli. But back to the potato pancakes. Quarter up an onion and run it through a food processor with a blade until the onion has been shredded to a pulp. You may need to scrape down the bowl. Reserve the onion for later, transferring it to a mixing bowl. Quarter the potatoes and run them through the food processor with the blade until they are a fine pulp like the onions. Next, line a sieve with cheesecloth and add the potato pulp. If you have a similar sized food processor, you will need to do the potatoes in 2 batches. And while it may seem tempting, do not process the onions and the potatoes together in the food processor, for the onion juice is full of flavor and we will be squeezing the water out of the potatoes. Before you squeeze out the potatoes with the cheesecloth, you may want to give a preliminary scrape with a spatula to reduce the volume of the potatoes. Not that this will help very much. Gather the ends of the cheesecloth together, and when you can, squeeze the potatoes until most of the water is out. This may take a couple of minutes. Alternatively, you can use a nut milk bag or a jelly jam bag to strain out the potato. Otherwise, I do caution you when going the cheesecloth method because should you squeeze too hard, it is all too easy for a potato to squeeze out along with the water. Add the drained potatoes to the bowl with the onion and add the remaining ingredients, the salt and nutmeg, the pepper, I do like a lot of pepper, and the flour. You may find that your potato mixture is too wet, in which case add more flour until the dough holds its shape. Meanwhile, heat a large skillet with cooking oil. Cast iron is my truest kitchen ally and works beautifully with potato pancakes. Coconut oil is a wonderful choice when it comes to the cooking oil, but today I will be using duck fat. Whichever oil you choose to employ, do be sure to select one with a high smoke point, like avocado oil or beef tallow. When the pan is good and hot, add the patties, shaping them as you go. It may help to keep a small bowl of water nearby to wet your hands in between patties. Flip the pancakes when the edges look crisp and golden. When they are done, move the pancakes to drain on a paper towel. Potato pancakes are best served hot with either ketchup, aioli, applesauce, or your preferred condiment of choice.
Thank you so much for joining me for today's episode of Vintage Kitchen Vixen. I really hope you enjoyed the recipe. I grew up calling these potato pancakes, and when I called up my mom a few weeks ago and I'm like, hey, what's your recipe for potato pancakes? She had no idea what I was talking about. I'm like, you always call them potato pancakes. And she's like, you mean the latkes? And I'm like, is that what you call them? She actually has a name for it in German, and it's like Kartoffel something, and I don't even know. She's gonna laugh at me. I probably should have asked her to spell it out for me, and then I could have You could have laughed at my pronunciation because I don't speak German very well at all. I can basically say I like cheese, which sometimes translates into I make cheese, because there's mach and then there's mach, and I have a hard time. Why do I do this to myself? Why do I go so off tangent and tell stories nobody cares about? This recipe is something I grew up with as a child. It was a favorite recipe among my brothers and I. When my mom made them, we would eat these pancakes, these latkes, with great gusto. So she would normally serve them with applesauce or with ketchup, which is how I serve them today. But I'm sure you can have a lot of fun with how you serve them. I usually make a complete meal out of this, but I like to supplement that with a little bit of homemade sauerkraut just to have something fresh and raw. So I have a tutorial all about making homemade sauerkraut, which is super easy and not as intimidating as you might think it is. When you have something raw and fermented to go with something that's cooked, it really helps your body to digest everything because of the enzymes that's present in the sauerkraut. But you can also pair it with the nice salad, or you can just, forget about the salads and call it a meal. Anyhow, it's a super simple recipe. As you saw, you just need potatoes, you need flour, and then you just spice it. So my mom likes doing nutmeg, but you can do parsley, you can put whatever you want in there. I like adding salt and pepper because those go into pretty much everything that I make. I usually cook them in coconut oil because it has a high smoke point, and always in my cast iron skillet. So if you want to learn about why I like cooking in cast iron and how to cook in cast iron, I also have a video on that, which I will link below. You fry everything up and dinner is done. Other than that, thank you for joining me today. If you're new, I hope you enjoyed this video enough to hit subscribe and the bell notification. If you're coming back, thanks for being here. And remember to like this video, leave a comment if you feel so moved, and share on social media. Bye! Whoops. See, that's why you don't want to squeeze too hard. Let's say that's good enough. I wasn't being mindful. All right. Bye!